Hey, what's up guys? Coach Myers here. I want to introduce you to somebody very important, a good friend of mine, Dr. Tyler Kelly. Doc, how you doing, man?
Hey, thanks.
So you guys have probably seen Dr. Tyler either maybe on my Instagram story, you've probably seen him on Cory G on the Daily Vlog or whatever. He comes down here every week to get worked on. So I want to tell you kind of a little bit about Dr. Tyler, and then I'm going to let him kind of talk and explain what he does here. So I first met Dr. Tyler about 6 years ago at a chiropractic office before he had his own practice here. And at the time, I was really dealing with some serious injuries. I have those bulging discs that have been a problem for a long time with me. What I noticed right away, working with Dr. Tyler, he wasn't, quote unquote, what people think of when they think of a chiropractor, even though I was seeing you at a chiropractic office. He began to kind of look at everything from the full picture, from my training to the way I sleep to, my past injuries, all this stuff, and started kind of formulating a plan to help me get back to where I could train at a high level. And the stuff that you've done with me and that you've taught me over the years has not only, kind of helped me get back to being able to train the way that I want to train, maybe with, kind of a few exceptions and stuff that I had to take out, but also has helped me become a better strength coach in the process. So one of the things I want everyone to kind of learn about today is, functional medicine. Now, functional is something you hear all the time. It's almost like a buzzword. It was like core training was, 5 years ago.
Sure.
People throw it around all the time. They say, oh, well, this guy trains more functional, or this guy's a functional medicine expert, or whatever. So Doc, first, why don't you kind of explain to everyone that's watching, what exactly is, from the bird's eye point of view, what is functional medicine?
Well, functional medicine is probably more, broadly speaking, what most functional medicine practitioners are a mix of different types of doctors or nutritionists that look at the patient as a whole. If you come into the office, maybe you're suffering from a thyroid issue or something like that, someone might seek a functional medicine practitioner to look at them and have a consult with them and look at it not so much from like an allopathic Western medicine, but as a whole person perspective. And what I'm trained in as a chiropractor, I have a master's in nutrition, CSCS, which we both share. So knowing a little bit about movement and strength training helps in helping people that come in with all different types of problems, maybe how to plug them into different deficiencies, treat different deficiencies that they have that might ultimately, when you do them all together, all the deficiencies, and work on all those things, synergistically make them, their health improve. Maybe it does help their thyroid indirectly or directly down the road because you get them back implemented into moving better first, maybe let's say. Maybe they move without pain. Then they can start to work out, maybe follow you a little bit more, work out a little bit more, and start building up maybe their cardiovascular system, and that might ultimately affect the quality of life. And that's really what I think functional medicine is about, is that it's about how do we improve the quality of life by doing the most simple changes that affect, I guess, the overall health the most. So I guess when you guys, I guess you're going to ask me about this, but when started working with you, 6, 7 years ago?
Yeah, it would have been probably 2012. What year is it? We're 2018, so yeah, 6 years ago.
Yeah, so I got out of school in 2010, and I actually started working with a couple of RTC guys in 2011 at the old office, and then we met, and I think once we started realizing that I started paying attention to your back, a little bit different perspective.
But one of the things I distinctly remember you saying, because you were kind of approaching the injury different than I'd ever had any other doctor or chiropractor approach it. Actually, I shouldn't say any other doctor. You kind of looked at things similarly to Dr. Serrano, who also had helped me a good deal early on with some of these injuries.
Yes.
But I remember you saying to me, you said, hey, when someone comes to me and says my ankle hurts, I don't just look at their ankle.
Sure.
And that's kind of maybe the stereotypical thing for a doctor, like, oh, my ankle hurts, okay, let's do an MRI on the ankle. You look at like, okay, why is this ankle hurting? What's up the chain or down the chain that's causing this pain? Right.
And I think when you take the functional medicine model and now what you see me do, what most patients see me do in a pain and performance perspective, it's still functional medicine, but now we're narrowing down maybe in terms of movement, in terms of pain, in terms of neurology, and maybe in connecting to their injury history. you say an ankle. We just had an ankle patient that comes in with low back pain. I had an ankle patient that came in with neck pain, and we think, how does a history of an ankle that I rolled or broke 10 years ago affect why am I having neck pain now, and how is it related to an ankle? Well, we're kind of going to talk a little bit about that today, I guess.
Okay.
I think
Sure.
Questions about that, but that when we look at an athlete or we look at a patient, when you come in, it's like, how good a history can we get, so that we, just like in a functional medicine, like how good a history can we get that explains your movement history to me, your injury history, your surgery history, and we know what your limitations are already. Maybe we're already putting together part of the puzzle because we know what your brain might be scared of based on some of the injuries that you've had.
So kind of explain that a little bit more. This is something that you've kind of explained to me, and now I have a concept of it. But why would, if you have an injury, let's say if I had, I tore my calf or my Achilles, I have some type of lower leg injury, and I did it sprinting, how would that then affect the way my brain kind of operates from a movement pattern standpoint?
Yeah, so I think one good resource, I always tell patients this when they're trying to understand this, their first visit, of why they still have injury. Their brain has memory of an injury, and what am I doing that is making them test their muscles are weak. I'm exposing, I'm finding out information about their injury history. What's happening? They're trying to understand that. One of the resources that I usually refer them to is that there's actually a TED Talk on, I don't think you've probably seen it yet, but there's a PhD pain scientist named Lorimer, and he has a TED Talk called Why Things Hurt. Well, he's super funny, he's awesome to check out, but he gets bit by a snake, and he's basically talking about how he got touched on the leg, didn't realize he got bit by a eastern brown snake in Australia in the bush, and 10 minutes later he's passed out, ready to die, right? And he's luckily
it's bad luck right there.
Luckily a survivor. And if you watch that video, you'll understand that now he didn't notice when he got bit that it was actually anything wrong happened. He thought he just got brushed by a twig. And if you understand how the nervous system communicates to the brain, it asks if, has this ever happened to me before? Is it threatening? No, it's not. Continue on, right? But if you've maybe been bit by a snake here, right, at Eastern, it threatened your life, you nearly died, and now you get a twig brushes you here, now your brain asks, has this ever happened to us? Yes, it has. We nearly died from this. So your brain now will signal pain here. Actually, pain is coming from, not from here, actually coming from your brain's projection based on sensory.
Your brain's essentially making it up. It's all in your head.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, I guess.
Which is where everything is, right?
So, but your brain's just a computer. It's based on input information. And so when you say, hey, I had this lower leg injury, it happened 10 years ago, I was sprinting, no big deal. I came in because my right shoulder hurts, but it was my left ankle. Why you ask me about my left ankle? I go, well, if you understand how the body is cross-crawl kinetically related, the right shoulder comes forward when the left leg does, we should probably pay attention to that old injury. It is important, it's valid. So you're doing extension, you're loading the ankle, your hip, your hamstring is engaged, your glutes engaged, but in that split second, push your chains loaded too much, Achilles tendon gives out, and then we're in a boot for a long period of time, walking funny for a while. So in that moment, your brain's keeping score, right? Your brain keeps score, your nervous system is keeping, your body keeps score in general. But
so it's basically starting to associate not just the pain with the actual, whether it's ankle or whatever injury, but just that movement of hip extension.
Yeah.
So now, what happens with my glute or my hamstring because of that?
So let's say that you bump your elbow. This is a different example. You bump your elbow against the wall, funny bone, right? Well, if you hit it good, your brain will actually tighten up muscles that bring you away from perceived pain. So if it happened like this, every muscle that brings you back this way will now be on more so than muscles that bring you back here. Does that make sense?
So it almost turns off the antagonist muscles because of that.
Yeah. So anything that brings you into danger, threat,
right?
Loading your ankle in a sprint too much, firing your glute when you load your ankle, might have a potential to be inhibited due to your brain trying to keep you alive. It doesn't want to have a catastrophic injury again.
Right.
So it does operate on bad things that have happened to us, and also things that we do every single day. If it's me leaning over a chiropractic table, or you as a strength coach, or all the people that are sitting at home at a desk job, even those repetitive exercises or specializations. We talk about the wrestlers. There's specialization in wrestling that make them maybe more. For a wrestler, might make them better, have a better opportunity to win in a wrestling match, but it might not make them a more functional human being. And that sounds that sounds a little weird, right?
No, absolutely. One of the examples I always use is that, and this is why we work shoulder mobility with the wrestlers, is that everything they do is right here.
Right.
So when they do get in this position, they're more apt to get injured because they're not used to being. We don't do things overhead. Everything in wrestling is right here.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, and for the people that follow you and your specialization as a strength coach in the wrestling community and combat athletes, the brain likes to do what it likes to do, like what it does every day. It likes to do that. If it doesn't spend a lot of time here, you're way more prone. And you can test it, and you can retest it, and reproduce it, and show it, and it's fun. And it's fun to figure out, but I guess that's when we start to understand where pain is in the body. Pain is a liar. If it's in your shoulder, the pain is the issue is often not around the shoulder. It's not here.
That's fire right there. Pain is a liar.
So the novice would rub here,
right?
The expert would look away, and I would, I think the experts are
to see what downstream or upstream.
And they might be frustrated. You go into a practitioner that thinks similar to me, and they and I hear this occasionally after first visits when people go from pain syndromes. They're 97% of pain syndromes are probably software problems, not actual physical damage here. It's actually from. It's
not really torn muscle in my shoulder.
Yeah, it's actually it's a muscle that's probably overworking because the rest of your system sucks, right? So it's robbing one area to pay another, or something like that, right? So it's that's really what's happening. So when you come in and someone, if you go to the right type of practitioner, is going to look more at an expert level, looking away and looking how you step on that ankle that you injured and how it's affecting your shoulder. Yeah, that's the type of guy that you want. That's the type of thing that's going to actually fix the root problem, not actually where your symptom is. This is a symptom.
It's a symptom of the real problem.
Yeah, and it might have been just a ticking time bomb. A combination of how you like to work out or what you do for a living, sitting at a desk, might be a result of the ankle, and the symptom shows up here because you sit holding a mouse like this all day, but your ankle's been traumatically injured, and now you've moved not using your obliques efficiently in the last 10 years. And does that make sense? So, yeah. So
every time I hear this guy talk, my mind is blown, and it reminds me how little I know about how the human body operates. And I always tell people when they say what does Dr. Tyler do? We see him working or whatever. I always say, oh well, it's just Dr. Voodoo. It's not really voodoo. There's all science, there's real reasoning behind it. But I like to joke that it's voodoo because it's almost like a higher level of understanding than what I have. But so obviously, I send all my athletes here. Cory and the 4am crew, most of those guys come here. Most of the high-level athletes, even that I don't work with around Columbus, I know they come here. So obviously, anyone in Central Ohio, I always recommend if they have any type of dysfunction or any pain or any problems, they need to get here and see Dr. Tyler. But let's say if I'm an athlete or a weightlifter, let's say I'm a power lifter out in Denver, Colorado. I don't know where to go. Maybe I'm going to a chiropractor or whatever, but I need to find someone that's maybe a little bit more your style. What do they need to look for when they're kind of searching the internet and looking at these websites and seeing what doctors do? What are kind of maybe the buzzwords they should look for? Like, this guy needs to be proficient in X, Y, and Z.
I think there's always that. You got to scan. And I think now it's all about whose website looks the best, and my website's terrible. So there is There is. It's a little bit more difficult. But
okay. So let's say if they were if they go around and they actually meet the practitioners. Yeah, I guess website was a bad example.
I'm not.
Don't judge on who has the flashiest
website. Mine's gonna get redone. You know,
yeah.
I'm aware.
It's all a process.
I'm aware. I'm just busy. You know, so the big thing is, I think you need to look for the language that they're not. They're looking for the bigger problem. They're looking for. You know, maybe they talk about what they do on the first visit, or talking about watching watching your gait cycle, watching your, common movement patterns, kind of going through a movement screening, whether it's the FMS and the SFMA, which I'm certified in those. Those are just, I don't want to say generic, but they're screens to look for deficient, much like functional medicine is looking for, hey, you have a poor relationship, or you have a poor diet or sleeping patterns and things like that, and maybe addressing there. We're looking for maybe the red flag that kicks up and says, hey, they can't bring their chin down to their chest. I know they have shoulder pain. Maybe it has something to do with the lack of stability in their neck, and it's driving maybe the shoulder pain. But you're looking for a screen, maybe some kind of standardization of that they watch these movements with every patient, and they become an expert in watching those movements and seeing the different tells or cheats that the patients do, that maybe start changing their clinical thinking to actually looking you at going, okay, when I get them to now the table to do neurology, or doing manual muscle testing, and start to do testing, they already have put together, based on your history and the movement screens, now they're putting together a whole picture, creating a big picture of your problem, not narrowing it down microscopically on, right, does it hurt right here? Can you point to me, is it a 10 out of 10? I
always hate that when they say, what's your shoulder pain on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm like, well, I mean, is a 10 like getting stabbed in the stomach with a rusty sword? Like, what's a 10?
Right. Yeah. Mostly, I think that's probably for insurance purposes.
Well, you think, say, hey, he said it was only a 5.
Yeah.
What can we do?
They ruin everything. So,
So would you say then? I mean, number one, you want to find someone that's going to try to diagnose and look at movement patterns. And you also, would you say muscle testing then is one of the kind of words you want to look for? Like, do they do muscle testing, or?
Yeah, and maybe someone that's been doing it for a long time. A lot of people will say, oh, that's not standardized one practitioner or another, but I think they haven't done it with every single patient, 3,000, 4,000, 6,000, 10,000, 20,000 patients in a row, and done every single test. You get to develop you start to develop a pretty good sense of what's happening. So there may be some expertise in someone that's been doing it and it's hard to say how long people have been doing that, but I think you go to somebody that maybe has a background in the neurology that I do. I did some training in, let's talk about my training, just background went to OU, played football down there with background in exercise physiology, chiropractic school for 3.5 years. It's a 5-year program, 3.5 years. It's kind of accelerated. Got a doctorate of that, and then did a master's in nutrition. And then I kind of got into the postdoctorate type of seminars. Went to the Institute of Functional Medicine. That's kind of my background. You go to a bunch of different seminars for that. Started to understand different, cardiovascular, hormones, GI, detox, a bunch of them. Okay, and you start to understand how they all interact with one another. Then I got into more functional neurology and trying to understand. So, as a chiropractor, I'm seeing 300 patients a week. You wonder why adjustments don't always fix everybody, right? And you start wondering yourself, why does this always come back? Why does this always come back? So it starts driving you. You're driving home, going, it's always that one patient that you couldn't fix. It's always the ones that you lost. The ones you can't win. You don't remember the ones you got better. You remember the ones that you couldn't get right. And anyway, so it got to the point where I went into functional neurology. I did NKT, which is called neurokinetic therapy at first. Got my basis in testing, started to understand how things were related in the body, different muscle groups, different muscles, way so much more than my anatomy background, which was really strong anatomy background, but you know, NKT started making relationships and how things moved in motion in the body, and kinetically in the body, and how neurologically they're involved with one another. But then I went into another functional neurology called PDTR, which stands for proprioceptive deep tendon reflex, which is so proprioception. You heard the guy that just won the memorial talk about proprioception. Mm-hmm. He was talking about not having his clubs cut to different lengths, and how it made it better because it didn't change his proprioception. So it standardized him. So proprioception is really just sensory information that goes back to the brain. So kind of how we were talking about, basically ankle injury affects the brain projects pain down the ankle. That's based on proprioception. So that is actually a vast, and it's actually being adopted now in medical as a new branch in neurology. So it's now starting to be a diagnostic tool to figure out. They've actually, what they really did, they hacked the sensory nervous system, and you can now figure out every single nerve ending and how it's affecting the brain. So that's what, when I'm really doing, that's what I'm doing. I'm hacking the sensory nervous system to figure out pain syndromes and based on lack of motor control. That's it in a nutshell.
Hey, some people are hacking websites, stealing credit card numbers. This guy's hacking your brain, all right?
Right.
So I guess kind of takeaway from that is when you do try to find a functional medicine practitioner, find someone that maybe has a wide variety of knowledge, background, experience, certifications, all that stuff. So that way they can kind of look at everything from a holistic standpoint. So Doc, really appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Really appreciate your help too, keeping us healthy. And that's it.